So it's May 3rd, and I want you to know that my house was auctioned on May 1st. I also want to let you know that I have not lost faith. I've not lost hope. I know that God is going to do something. I know that He can't forsake me. And in the same breath, I also want to tell you, I don't really want to do this video right now. I don't really want to be on display for you guys anymore, made a spectacle of. Because I also know that as much as you guys call me sister, 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 and you tell me that you love me and all of these other things, that it's not true. I received one message the night before all of this happened on April 30th. I received one message, one email from someone standing in faith with me. And the next day, when he saw that the auction went through, he messaged me again to stand in faith with me, to ask me what I needed. And some of you have been on this channel for years. You've been on this channel for years, eating, partaking from my offering, calling me sister, co-laborer, and this is what's in your heart. And it's not really so much about me, it's about what's in your heart. But then I have to remember things like the fact that the word says that Jesus knew what was in the people's hearts, and He did not entrust Himself to them, but He kept speaking, and He kept suffering for the name, and He kept being used by God. And that Paul was being betrayed by people everywhere he went. People were slandering him and talking behind his back. And he kept running the race right up to the end. And I know that that's something that I need to do, and I'm certainly not going to give up now. With 5 months left, I would be a fool to give up now. So I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I'm standing in faith. Frankly, it's impossible for someone to be deceived about the blatant fruit of truth that God has spoken to them and has had them speaking. What I speak is the truth. Not for 1 second will I deny that, or can I even, and believe me, I've searched my heart, I've searched my words to examine, is there anything that I've spoken that is not true? Is there anything here that I do not believe? There is nothing here. There is nothing here that I don't believe, that I've spoken to you, that I didn't give everything up in order to serve. And if that's the truth, there is no way that God would destroy a single person for loving Him like that. So it just has to be about the timing. And I will admit that I thought that the timing had to happen because, you don't know until you know. And we lean on our own understanding until we know, or at least our understanding as best we can understand what God's doing. And so naturally I would think, okay, well, May 1st, when they set my house for auction, something's got to happen by that date. And I was telling my daughter last night, I think we have this natural inclination to lean on our own understanding like that and set these deadlines of when God has to do what He's going to do. And God doesn't have to play by those rules. And I realize, because obviously I have felt the same in moments where, once I saw that auction went through, I was like, okay, well, that's it. That's it. Says who? I know what God has told me. I know what He promises. And I want you to hear this. I know what I have done with God. I know what I've done on a daily basis. I know what I gave up. I know the way I've suffered. I know the fruit that He has borne through my suffering. I know that He continues to give me wisdom. And you can't have all of that fruit and be deceived. God can't keep giving you understanding and wisdom and deceive you and break your faith. It's impossible. He either is or He isn't. And I know that He is. And there is nothing else that I believe. So whether you care or not, I don't really know whether you guys care or not, to be honest. I know you don't care about me. At least care about Him. At least care about the message. Or try. But I know I have to keep running this race. I have to keep speaking to you what my experience is, because you're going to need it. And I do care enough about you to do that. God is not going to forsake me. I also want to share with you some things that that person has said to me as he's been standing in faith with me, and I hope he's okay with this. I think he would be. I had been on FaceTime with my daughter for I don't even know, the time just like melts together, but I think maybe 1 or 2 hours, just sharing testimony with each other, standing in faith. It was April 30th, the night before the auction was to be set, and I saw a message pop up, and the title of that message was "Don't Stop Running." And I just broke down in tears because, to be honest, I was a little shocked that not a single person on the channel, knowing the date, knowing the stakes, did not lean into my offering enough to even send a message. And so I want to say something to you about leaning into a person's offering. You know, when we had people that were in the body, it was like so hard to teach people how to lean into and use properly what it is that I am living out before you. Because if you're unwilling to lean into what I'm doing before you, you're going to end up doing it. Do you not understand that? At least care enough about your own life, at least care enough about your own suffering to try to understand the heart of God. And every single offering that's been given to you in Scripture, you should be leaning into that. What would it be like to be walking up to a place knowing that you're going to sacrifice your son and building that altar? Every second must have been torment. Every second asking God, are you sure about this? You want me to sacrifice my own son? And then raising that knife to do it. And in the last second, God's angel says, don't do it, and sends a ram. Your precious little son saying the words to you, where would you like to offer, Father? Have you guys leaned into that? Have you leaned into hanging on the cross and having insults hurled at you? Even in the last moments of your suffering, all of this that you've given, people dropping off and saying, this is too hard a teaching. Who can understand it? You're possessed by a demon. That's what you're doing these miracles by. Casting lots. He's hanging on a cross. He's dying, and they're casting lots for the last thing he has for his clothes. Do y'all lean into that? What it would feel like? What it would feel like to be going everywhere and teaching people, trying to save your own people who are telling you, you're just trying to change our traditions. As though you're not a Jew, as though you weren't advancing in importance and status in the world as a Pharisee and gave all of that up to become the scum of the earth, put on display like a spectacle, like one at the end of the procession condemned to die in the arena. Those are the words of Paul. That's how he described his offering. And I would plead with people, look, I'm going through this as an example to you. If you don't lean into it, you're going to experience it, and worse, because you're going to know what you've been given. Try to understand God's heart behind it. Try to understand what it is that I'm going through so that you can understand what he does and prepare your heart. And people treated it like checking a box. They couldn't get it. And indeed, they weren't intended to get it because God hardens. But you're going to get it. Whether you make it or not, you're going to get it. You're going to know what's been given to you. If you make it, you will go through these things in order to be purified, made spotless, and refined. If you don't make it, if you don't do that here, if you do not pick it up and you think you're exempt from it, you're going to experience it in eternity. You will continue to be shown what you were unwilling to do, what was extended to you as an opportunity for eternity. You will be living that out. How badly do you think I needed to see those words? Don't stop running. He told me that he was praying, that he had been praying for God's will to be done with mercy and compassion. And he said the words, God is real. No matter what happens tomorrow, he will always be real. I'm still willing to share with you what I have. I'm still willing to pray and to share confirmation that he's real, that the race is real, and that we need to keep running until the end. Whatever happens will be his will. and we are but only clay. I want you to notice the way that this person is standing in faith. They're not standing in faith about me. They're standing in faith about God because they know God. Because you can't stand in faith with someone if you're not willing to stand in your own faith. And the people who are no longer here are no longer here for a reason. They were not willing to stand in their own faith. They were not willing to run their own race. It didn't matter that they came to every assembly, every workshop, every Bible study. It didn't matter. When it came down to standing in their own faith, they were unwilling to do it. And because of that, they didn't know how to stand with me. Because you can't stand with another person, especially one who's going through more than you, when you're not even willing to stand in the bit he's given you. And the next day, did this person break off? That whole night I was praying for this person, praying, this person believes, Lord, don't break their faith. Glorify yourself and use this to reveal to him. He's the only one watching. He's the only one standing, apart from my own children. Use this for him because he's not giving up. He knows what you've revealed to him. He's not denying your name. And not only is he not denying your name, but look what he's doing for me. Building me up during the hour that I'm having to carry my cross and sharing with me so that I don't give up. Please use this to prove to him. And just because he hasn't done it yet, just because he's stretching us a little further, doesn't mean he won't. And the next day, he didn't drop off. He sent me another message, letting me know if your head is spinning, mine is too, in a related way. And I'm sure that's because of what God has revealed to him and the fruit that God has bore through me. The previous auction, God delayed. He sent fires. We had our own understanding about how things were going to go with this one and the deadlines by which God has to perform his miracles. But that's not reality. And so in the moment when he doesn't perform that miracle on the deadline that I think he's supposed to, or somebody else thinks he's supposed to, we have to go back to him and ask him, okay, is there anything, the thing I'm always asking him is give me confirmation or correction, because it's only one of the two. Either I need to be corrected or I need your confirmation that I am indeed in you so that I can continue to go. I can continue to run. And he's continued to give me confirmation. I know what correction looks like from God. I've shared it with you on this channel. He does not have a problem correcting me. It's impossible that in the absence of correction and in the presence of him continuing to give wisdom and understanding and confirmation that he's going to forsake. That makes no sense. So I have to keep running and not leaning on my own understanding. And look, this person is doing that same thing right alongside me and continuing to let me know that he's here with me. You cannot even know how much that means and how blessed this man will be because of what he's doing for a servant of God. You know, a lot of you guys in your counterfeit churches and religions wrote check after check after check to all these false teachers and prophets, thinking you were going to get your reward. And you didn't do it for the kingdom of God. You didn't do it for the sake of God. You did it because you thought you were going to get something in return. This person will get something in return. The one who helps a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And this person is helping me with their faith. They are helping me with everything that God has given them. They're not just writing a check. They're testifying to the confirmation that God has given them. They're sorting through their own faith, their own concerns, their own considerations, their own doubts in order to continue to stand with God, and God is moving them to stand with me. What happened to the over 1,000 of you on the channel that your hearts have not been brought there? That you gather around yourselves many teachers subscribing to all their YouTube channels and not discerning the fruit. You're not even in your own faith. That's why you can't stand with others. It's why you don't assemble. It's why God doesn't move you to reach out and know how to stand. That even in the face of disappointment, even in the face of not understanding and being confused for the moment of why didn't he do it this way? Why didn't he do it today? To still say, his will was done today. Now, where do we go together? What's next? Here's my testimony. I've had people tell me what God did because I kind of require for people to discern me before I start working with them. And I've had many people tell me their testimonies of how God revealed what it is that I'm doing. And I remember one in particular who shared with me her testimony and then said something to the effect of, I've been carrying around this $200, wondering what I'm supposed to do with it. God told me to give it to you. How can I get it to you? I don't know why that particular memory comes up for me, because that's not what happens most of the time when people are discerning me that they want to give money, but she did, and God told her to do that, and she acknowledged that God was telling her to do that, and fell off a couple weeks later when she was being confronted. Like, how is it that God tells you something one minute, and the next minute you're like, nah. I'm only willing to accept that when things are easy and I'm not being confronted. I'm not being convicted by God. Another one not that long ago telling me on the phone, that the people who reject the message are like the girl in high school who keeps getting beat to a pulp by her boyfriend. And when you tell her, you got to leave this guy, she responds, well, his birthday's coming up. Well, he's going through a hard time. Well, our anniversary's coming up, or whatever, any number of excuses. That person was gone within a matter of days of saying that. How can you know something to be true so firmly one minute and then reject it the next? It's because you're not standing in your faith. It's because when things don't go the way that you want them to go or you think they should go of your own understanding, well, gosh, doesn't it sound just like the parable of the sower, guys? You get worried about the deceit of wealth. When the time of testing comes, you can't handle it. You're not even willing to do that in your own lives. And this is the reason why you don't feel even any kind of sense of responsibility to do it with the rest of God's people, with his servants. Because many of you, no doubt, are going to think, well, he didn't do it by May 1st, so he's not going to do it. This was all a lie. You might even be relieved because you don't have to accept the difficult things that I say. And if that's how you feel, then by all means, let me know where you're finding truth. Because I know the things I say are true. And I want to tell you what God woke me up with today. Actually, hours before he actually woke me up, and then, he does this all the time, slowly wakes me up, speaks a message, and I'm like, no, I'm sleeping another couple hours. But he just kind of slowly wakes me up with the message and won't let it go. Before I move on with the message, I know that I've said this to you many times. You know who you are, who sent the message. You have no idea how much that meant to me and how much you strengthened my faith. And I know that I told you this story, but I'm going to tell the rest of everyone this story. A few days ago, I was studying Luke, and I was in chapter 5, and I was reading that story about how Jesus told Peter was coming back from a fishing trip, and Jesus said, throw the nets over the boat, and Peter said, we worked hard all night. And God really made me focus on that statement. We worked hard all night. We haven't caught anything. But because you're telling me to throw the nets over, I'll do it. And the nets were so full that they began to break. And I had never read this in this way before or received it in this way. But you remember that God told the apostles that he was going to make them fishers of men. And this is what I was feeling. When I was reading at the time that I was reading this chapter, is, Lord, I've worked so hard. Where's the fruit? And actually, I was taking it up with him over many journal entries. I've worked so hard, and there's no one here. Thank you that my children are here, because I just don't even know. That would be so hard if my children did not believe. They each have their own testimonies, and they do not come from them trying to please me. They are genuine testimonies. These kids have given up so much, and you don't just do that for a human being. They're doing that for God. So this is what I was taking up with God, and feeling that message of, we worked so hard. I've worked so hard. I've given so much. And I felt that message of the nets were so full that they were breaking. And so if I exit this world in 5 months, and I know that just that one person has stood in faith and has believed, and that I could see that one person on my way out, you have no idea what that means to me. That sign of what I will be able to see at some point, as it's written in Isaiah, that we're going to see our children. They're going to be brought, and we're going to say, who bore me these? I know that that promise is going to be fulfilled. I have hope in what is not seen. But in God's mercy and faithfulness, he's given me a sign in one person who truly believes and has been willing to stand in their own faith so that they could stand with me. The message that God woke me up with this morning is, truth is going to be thrown down. And he required me to look it up, and it's found in Daniel 8:12. And it says, because of the rebellion, the Lord's people and the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Now, the daily sacrifice are the witnesses. They're sacrificing for 1,260 days. And this is talking about the rise of the Antichrist when that fifth trumpet blows in a little over 5 months. When the beast, the kingdom of the Antichrist, rises from the abyss to overpower and kill the witnesses, and then goes after the rest of the woman, God's church. Listen to what it says. Because of the rebellion, the Lord's people and the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Do you understand why truth is going to be thrown to the ground, guys? Who else is speaking truth? Show me one, because I would like to know. Feel free, comment on the channel. Tell me one person who is speaking the truth. Who is teaching these things to you? I would like to know, and I will go investigate them. I will listen to the things that they have to say, and I will tell you why I know they are false. Because what I know about my role right now as a witness is that the reason God sends his prophets, his witnesses, is because no one is speaking truth. And that was one of the first things God taught me when he was teaching me, you are going to read my word, I'm going to teach it to you, and you are not going to listen to anybody, because no one is speaking the truth. The only people speaking the truth right now are his witnesses. There are 144,000 in the entire world right now. What's the likelihood that you would be in contact with one, let alone two? Go ahead. Tell me who else is speaking truth. I've been on some of your YouTube channels to see who you're listening to. I know who you're listening to. I know the falsehood you're ingesting. I know that you are not discerning what is true from what is false. And one of you came on here the other day saying, there are problems with my discernment. Why? Why are there problems with your discernment? You have the Holy Spirit and you have God's word. It's because you're not maintaining purity, virginity to God's truth. You are not single-minded. You're double-minded, and you think that you need other people to tell you what the truth is. You've not returned to him. And I want to tell you, I know that this is difficult, because when he first started telling me, you're going to stay with my spirit and my word, and you're not going to listen to anyone else because no one is speaking the truth, I felt very insecure and inadequate about that. And you know what? I am. insecure and inadequate. And that's okay, because he wasn't going to do it by my power or might. He was going to do it by his Spirit. And so I kept thinking, but I don't have a background in theology. But I don't have this training. You know what? You know what he's shown me since then? Those going to Bible college and seminary who have theology degrees are worse off than someone like me who only knew the Book of Mormon from my upbringing, who lived a pagan life and had a head full of indoctrination from the world about what was true and what mattered and all of it. I was better off than someone who had gone and been taught by the world about God's word. How does that make sense, y'all? Does it make any sense that you would go to a university that makes money off of, all of their books that they sell? They probably wouldn't make a whole lot of money if they were like, look, we're just here to tell you that by God's Spirit and his word, that's the only truth. They probably wouldn't make a lot of money off of that, because what do you need them for? So all those people have been doing is reading commentaries and books that people write about the Bible, about their interpretations. And you're not taught in school to read by the Spirit, are you? You're taught to read by your carnality. And then you're taught to go out there and make a reputation for yourself, because whatever reputation you make for yourself in the world will be the reputation that you make for that university. But what did Jesus teach? Jesus said the world wasn't going to like you if you didn't belong to it. Jesus said you were going to be slandered, and that you were blessed when people speak all kinds of evil about you. You think that school wants true shepherds, true teachers, true servants of God? Absolutely not. They don't want the truth any more than the Pharisees did. They didn't even want the Messiah, because he wasn't going to reflect on them in the way that they had expected. They were told they were going to receive the King of the Jews. He was going to restore the kingdom to Israel. Who is this who has nothing that we would desire him? Who is this who tells us to suffer with our cross for the sake of the kingdom of heaven? Who is this who tells us that the kingdom is not something that you're going to see with your carnality, but something that will be revealed to you and appreciated by the Spirit if you do what the Spirit requires? And here's what the Spirit requires. Pray for your enemies. Love those who hurt you, who curse you, who hate you. Give to those who ask of you. Sell everything you have and give to the poor, and follow me. Who is wise and discerning, people of God? And you're following pastors in churches who use the cross and Christmas and Easter and Sunday Sabbath and Saturday Sabbath. Where's that in the Bible, people of God? God taught you to count down from the new moon in order to know what your Sabbath is. He never named days. And what about tithing? Was not tithing always associated with sacrifice? You have a fine way of doing away with the things that you don't want to do, but holding on to the things that make you money. And then you have a servant in front of you who doesn't require anything from you. I'm responsive to you, to your emails, your texts, your phone calls, your messages on YouTube. I'm very responsive. In fact, I do videos for you a lot of the time. You'd rather go pay someone for a message that's easier to hear. I don't require anything of you, but the message is not easy. And the message, by the way, has nothing to do with me. I don't benefit from whether you accept or reject it. Do you recognize that? Do you discern it? Who is wise and discerning? When the Antichrist rises in 5.5 months, the Antichrist is going to kill the witnesses. He's going to go after you, and truth is going to be thrown down. Who is speaking truth? It's true that the Bible has been messed with. It's also true that God has the ability to preserve his word by his Spirit if you're reading by his Spirit. And I've shown you that the Spirit is enough to correct the falsehood and to lead you into truth. You're heading into a time, people of God, where the truth is going to be thrown down. As Ezekiel says in Ezekiel 7:26, calamity upon calamity will come, and rumor upon rumor. They will go searching for a vision from the prophet. Priestly instruction in the law will cease. The council of the elders will come to an end. What you have right now, people of God, that you do not seem to understand how to use, is an offering that you're supposed to be leaning into, an offering that you're supposed to also be supporting once you have discerned. You have been provided counsel and warning from these elders, from these prophets, and it's going to cease. And Amos says, the days are coming, declares the sovereign Lord, when I will send a famine through the land, not a famine of food or of thirst for water, but a famine of hearing the words of the Lord. People will stagger from sea to sea and wander from north to east, searching for the words of the Lord, but they will not find it. Some of you came to this channel. You heard the truth, and you received it at once with joy. Some left, and some have fallen asleep because you didn't put it to practice. You didn't return to God, and you've treated the things I say the way that you treat His Word. You cherry pick what you want to hear, and you leave the rest. As though God provides a message that can simply be dissected. As though God gives you servants who are partly true. Please return to God and become wise and discerning disciples, students of God. You're not going to be able to stand in your faith with just a head full of knowledge, but a heart that is far from Him. And indeed, you will not be able to be discerning or wise if you are not sorting through this by His Spirit in your heart. Because there is no way for you to comprehend the message by your carnality. Please discern this message with God.